So I'm bringing back my delicious before sunrise candle. Hi, Kayla's lovely. Thank you for coming. It's good to see you. My delicious candle. My son was telling me that a lot of platforms are down right now, like Discord and Spotify, or that they had been down. Oh, wonderful. Hi, Eve. Thank you for coming. Eve is one of our lovely moderators. Hi, Sophie. Thank you for joining us. So we'll just clear the space, and I'll do that first this time, and then we'll talk about the cards I'm going to use. Oh, good, it caught. So just focus on the flame and allow. Oh, you did, Dawn. Hi, how's it going? Just allow anything that's no longer serving you to gently float to the surface of your consciousness and release it into the flame. And if you like, you can use some gentle breathing exercises to do that. So, inhale and feel the divine white light of Source filling your body from the crown of your head down through the soles of your feet and into the ground below. Hi, Juan ASMR. Howdy, howdy, howdy. And when you exhale, you can then just sigh out any of those things that you would like to release. And you can imagine them going into the flame. You can even pretend, if you want to, when you exhale, that you are trying to blow out the candle. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. You're doing a great job. Great job. And I promise not to burn my apartment down. So I went to see my friend's band over the weekend. My very good friend from North Carolina plays drums in Psychic Graveyard, and they played at Non Plus Ultra. And I was so happy to see him again. Literally one of the nicest people I know. The tools that I will be using today are this tiny deck that is coffin shaped. I really love these cards. I bought them on Etsy. And they're very small. The other deck I will be using. Oh yes, I definitely recommend them. It's kind of like harder, like hardcore, but not by this artist Valfrey. These are plain cards, and it fits in with my aesthetic for the week. This is a pretty nice deck. Very easy to shuffle. And then, if you want to join me over on the members side of the channel for the crystal scrying in the extended, this is the crystal that I'm going to be using for that. It is this beautiful geode. It looks a lot like a cloud on the outside, a little bit like a brain. It's got all these interesting formations on it and inside of it. And I'm not struggling horribly with allergies, but I do have a bit of allergy going on in my throat, so I'll try to remember to drink a little bit of water. It certainly makes doing the ASMR just a little bit more challenging, but that's okay. So, we're going to start with the fire sign of Aries. Aries the Ram. Some of you are going to have birthdays coming up soon, toward the end of this month and next month. So let's find out what's going to be going on for Aries this week. And I'm going to be dealing out 3 major arcana cards from this deck, and then I'm going to have 3 clarifiers each from my deck of cards. So Aries, if you want to just allow any topics that you'd like to cover to float up to the forefront of your thoughts, and wait there patiently while we get into the reading. And if they are stressing you out, just gently breathe through that tension. Allow all those things to be sighed out so they can return to source and be transmuted. Oh, good. You have a 6. I think the 6s in my deck are in this deck are my favorite. So in this Valfrey deck, the images repeat by number. So you'll see that come out. But I like the aesthetic of the deck a lot. And I wanted to use it for that reason. And I hope it's not making funny noises every time I bump my mixer. I'll try not to do that. Okay. Aries, let me write down your timestamp. So Aries, we can see here in the past, you are showing up in your reading as the Emperor. The Emperor can be about a time in which you have gotten everything organized in your life. You've taken control over situations. The Emperor card is about ruling by divine right. You see here, he has his staff. He has his holy hand grenade. We have these rams standing off to either side. He's kind of sitting on this throne here. You can think of the four walls of a house, the four walls of a fortress, although a lot of fortresses have several walls, 5 or 8. Let's look into some of these clarifiers. We'll be able to get a better idea of what we're looking at here in the past. We have the 7 of Wands. So this also would be showing you in a position slightly above others around you. It could be a supervisory position. The 7 of Wands is about attaining a vantage point such that oftentimes it makes you a target. But it could also be coming into focus with this Emperor card and showing you as either being promoted to supervisor, could be starting your own company and possibly hiring employees, something like that. We also have this the 9 of Wands. So another wand here. You can see all these little bats flying out of the coffin. I think that's so cool. The 9 of Wands is about being very guarded. So not necessarily in a defensive stance, but the two of these cards together, this is a defensive stance here with the 7 of Wands. And this 9 of Wands is very much about guarding what one already has, such that together, it definitely looks like somebody who is in a position of authority, but who feels the need to defend or justify in some way that authority. Very defensive, very guarded energies there. We also have, for the past, as a clarifier, the Queen of Pentacles. And the Queen of Pentacles is water of earth energy. So you can think about that as watering fertile fields to allow the crops to grow, to promote the growth of those crops. And such happens with this Queen of Pentacles regarding one's finances and one's material resources. So it's not just about already being in a good position financially, but about there being that potential there for growth and sustained growth. So that definitely, in the past, that first column we're looking at, it does look like it could be a job situation in which you've been promoted and you have more room for advancement also along the way. It could have to do with one's academic life, especially if you're in a very competitive field of study. It doesn't much look like a romantic reading, but it could have to do with a partner's job situation as well, especially if you are cross-watching. So here in the current situation, this is the Temperance card for this deck, and here it is called Art, which I think is a wonderful name for this card because it speaks to the balance and the training and practice required of the Temperance card. This kind of double-headed figure is pouring two liquids simultaneously between two vessels over a third vessel and not spilling any of it. So you have achieved a level of mastery in whatever field this is and in whatever your practice is, possibly related to these other things from the past that maybe now you've gotten to a point where you feel much more secure in that particular situation. You don't necessarily feel as guarded or as defensive as when it was very new. We do have a clarifier for the Temperance card in the present, the Three of Swords. Now, the Three of Swords does not guarantee arguments and strife, but it does indicate that there might be things in your environment that are contested. And we are in a very divisive time where people have these opinions about things that are going on far, far away. And it is very difficult to obtain enough correct information about these different issues to really have good, useful opinions about a lot of them. I'm not saying don't be aware of what's going on in the world, but it's important to try to not be too reactionary. But to me, that might be part of why the Three of Swords is coming out in this reading for the current situation. It might be more environmental and less specific to any particular person's life. But it is a general reading too, so I'm sure more general things come up that we're all being affected by. We also have the Four of Swords. So the Four of Swords is about rest and rejuvenation of the self. We have this cute little black cat silhouetted against the moon, standing on this wall. But it could be that because you have achieved this position of balance and mastery over the self, that these particular arguments and disputes, this highly contentious atmosphere, you are not allowing yourself to be affected by it. So that is very good to see in this reading, and especially for Aries with a fiery temperament. It's a cardinal sign, and Aries being the very first sign in the wheel of the zodiac, there's a tendency to see more like early beginning behaviors and not see a lot of progression, but I don't think that's necessarily the case. And of course, your sun sign or your rising sign or your moon sign does not inform the totality of your birth chart. This is my favorite card design in this deck. It's this little marijuana leaf dressed up like a witch and possibly sitting on a mushroom and smoking a joint, and all these little ghosts are coming out. I really love this card design. So this is the Six of Pentacles. And this card is all about the ebb and flow of resources in and out of our lives. Where we see the Six of Pentacles, that can be things like giving to charity, giving to others. It can be in the reverse. We're not doing any reversals in the readings this week. But in the reverse, it can indicate borrowing money or obtaining resources from others, receiving gifts and things like that. But you could be in a very financially secure place. We do have that Queen of Pentacles here, showing that you had a lot of job growth potential in the past. So during this period of time, you might have more money coming in than is going out. It's not necessarily like taking steps back from this, but showing this as a progression of that Queen of Pentacles energy from the past. So it does look like you're staying out of trouble, Aries, at this time. Good for you. Good for you. I know you could do it. Here in the future, we have the Magician card. Now, the Magician is all about manifestation, and it is a very early card in the major arcana. It's not the first one. Magician is aligned with the planet of Mercury, and by extension, thank you, also aligned with the signs of Virgo, mutable earth, and Gemini, mutable air. So it is possible that you might have Virgo or Gemini placements in your chart. We've had mastery over the self and one's surroundings in the past. We have mastery over the self and one's craft in the present. And here in the future, we see putting that into practice and working toward manifestation of one's goals and desired reality. Along with that Magician card, we have one of the Jokers in the deck, which I read similarly to the Fool card of the major arcana. That it is a good time to shed all of the things that are holding you back, to go into your new situations without a lot of baggage being carried with you. We see flames here on the card. The Joker is a bit dressed up like a devil, a bit dressed up like a jester. So there's a very playful energy here. We do have fire sign energy showing up. We do have little horns. We almost have these looking like the horns of Aries, right? So being open to new things, new situations, because you've already attained a certain level of mastery. And it also looks like a lot of you Aries out there, and I really credit you for this, are doing your part to depolarize and not get involved in these contentious situations. The next clarifier that we have is the Seven of Swords. So this can be secrets. It can be underhanded dealings or treachery. This can be things that might not be apparent on the surface of situations, and you're really going to have to trust your discernment here. So with the Temperance card, we do often see development of one's discernment. And I was just speaking to that as well, that it looks like there's quite a bit of that going on. So just maintain a high level of awareness. There's not really a need to be super guarded as in the past, but just being aware, keeping one's eyes open and one's wits sharp. The Joker is a little bit different from the Fool in that regard. And the final clarifier that I've got for you in this reading, Aries, is the 10 of Pentacles. So we can see through this progression that you're probably a little bit more than halfway there at this time. And that with this 10 of Pentacles coming through, in the future, you really will be setting yourself up for legacy wealth, to leave behind money enough to care for others once you have passed. Not to be grim about it, of course. Just saying that it's going to be more than enough money for your generational needs and might be passed along as well. Many times on the 10 of Pentacles, we have an older figure kind of crouched in the corner or greeting a younger figure or a younger couple, and it's to represent the passing on of those resources. All right, Aries, so that is going to conclude your reading for today. If you would like to join me over on the members side of the channel for the crystal scrying, I will be doing that following the conclusion of the fire signs live stream for the general readings. So just shortly, but we are going to move on now to the sign of Leo, the lion. So Leo, if you would, while I'm getting the cards ready for you, allow anything that you'd like to know more about in the reading to rise up into the forefront of your thoughts. And just gently float there and wait for us to get to it in the reading. If any of these things are stressful to you, I recommend breathing through that tension very gently. With each inhale, bring in the energy of the divine white light of Source. And with every exhale, just exhale any of that tension or anxiety or discomfort, where it will return to Source and be transmuted. All right. Showing up in your reading. Very good. And I'm just going to shuffle these cards a little bit also. Oh, hi, Malik. No, we're doing Sagittarius next. I just started the Leo reading. Or rather, I'm shuffling the cards. I haven't quite started Leo yet. Okay. Oh, interesting. As usual, Leos. So let me write down your timestamp. And we'll get right into your reading. Hi, Lenore. Thank you for coming. So, Leo, here in the past, we have the Eon card. This is the Justice card within this deck, and it is about transcending through different levels and planes of existence. And each time you transcend to a different level, there's a test, there's an initiation, there's an evaluation period that takes place. So that would be the judgment part of the judgment card. And it is possible that in the recent past, or in the past affecting the current period, that you've been through one of these evaluation periods. Let's look at the clarifiers. We have the Six of Cups. So thinking about the past, this could be nostalgia. It could be looking to the past for answers to future questions. The Six of Cups can be things returning from the past also. So we're looking at this in the context of the past. It could even be related to this evaluation, that there were things from your past that were tallied up in relation to that judgment and that test and initiation. We have the King of Swords here. So the King of Swords can be associated with the sign of Libra and can also be associated with the Justice card. This is about discernment, and not a binary type of discernment, but a discernment that involves contemplating every aspect of what is being evaluated. So this could have represented the person who would have been doing the judging in your case. And this wouldn't have been like a court case. This would have been somebody who was a proctor for an exam, somebody within an order that you were trying to join. It could even be an entity, if you're working on your own spiritual development in a solitary practice. But it could be that this person has been evaluating your past actions as part of that judgment. And we also have the Nine of Cups. So the Nine of Cups is wish fulfillment. And we do see all of these little eyeball bats flying around outside this coffin. I mentioned earlier in the video that the art is repeated for, so all of the nines in this deck do have this same piece of artwork on them. But it is interpreted slightly differently each time, of course. So Nine of Cups is wish fulfillment in the past for you. Whatever this examination was, you definitely passed and were granted a boon on account of that. here in the current situation, you're coming out in your own reading, Leo, as the Strength card. And we see this almost like a chimera. And then we have this figure here in the foreground who has the lemniscate of infinity on their head. And they are riding this chimera. They're getting ready to, well, it's difficult to tell if they're getting ready to get on or if they just have their leg up in the air. But they have mastery over this beast. And it is not simply through merit of physical strength that this is occurring. Much like the art or temperance card, it's about mastery of the self and being able to persuade others through word, through charm, through action. So we see now, as one of the clarifiers for the Strength card, the Seven of Cups. This represents a lot of different options opening up to you. So you could imagine these eyeballs as different options, different views of different paths that are available to you at this time. Some of them are very good. Some of them could be very bad. With Seven of Cups, it's a mixed bag. It's not all good or all bad. And it's up to your discernment to figure out what it is that you really want so that you can reach out and grab it. We do have, along with this, the Two of Swords, the Two of Spades. And this represents a choice. Often it represents a binary choice. But since we also have the Seven of Cups here, it could represent the choice between any of these options in the context that, because the Two of Swords is coming out here, that the time has come to make that choice. I really love the stars in their hair. I wish I had hair like that. I mean, I suppose that in this day and age, anything's possible. I probably could get hair like that if I really wanted to. And the third significator for the present situation is the Eight of Pentacles. So the Eight of Pentacles here is about long-term career employment. This wouldn't necessarily just be a day job, but it very well could represent that if that is what you choose. It is time for you in the current situation, Leo, to decide what it is that you really, really want to be doing, and then take that route. Oh, thank you, Eve. Yes, I love these decks. I'm so happy to be working with them this week. Oh, thank you, Malik. I love this person's art. And just as an aside, I purchased these cards at a record store in the San Fernando Valley called the Midnight Hour, where they also do a lot of shows. And it's really exciting to me to have a place like that here in the Valley, where you can go and see live music. The options can be a little limited up here, and it's really not that far away from where we live. And the record store was started by Sergio, who's in this band called ACXDC. and my spouse had kind of known him from before. But I mean, when you're in a very successful hardcore band, like, you just know a lot of people, so it's not like we're special friends with him or anything. But if you're ever in San Fernando, they're right over by the Mission on that main strip. All right, Leo, so now we're going to talk about the future. So, in the future, we have the Devil card. And the Devil is all of our baser instincts, all of our lower parts of ourselves. So where with things like the Temperance card or the Judgment card, we're striving for those higher aspects of the self. The Devil card is more about the opposite of that, where all of those things that control us, whether it's weakness of the physical frame, can represent illness, can represent addiction or compulsion, all of those things. Devil can also be Capricorn energy. It could be related to being a workaholic or dedicating too much of oneself to attainment of material success. Whatever the Devil represents for you, it does look like you might be meeting up with him again in the future. Let's find out some more about that. We have the 10 of Wands. This does represent burdens and oppression, and would very much be the kind of things that we find with the Devil card. We have the 9 of Swords, where now that wish fulfillment has turned to anxiety and nightmares. So in some ways it's interesting to have the same artwork on the same cards, because here we have the 9 of Cups. This is excitement, wish fulfillment, gratification, and this card being about anxieties. We have the 5 of Swords. And the 5 of Swords is combat. So this is not just argument. This is having to fight for things. So, Leo, this is not necessarily a bad reading. It does look like you have a very good foundation on which to move into the future. The key here being true to yourself, maintaining that essence of the self. Peace on earth. Peace on earth. Purity of essence. For my fans of Dr. Strangelove out there. Staying on this course. When you have selected this course, the way that I see it is that you will be able to achieve this. But there are going to be things along the way. Obviously, the devil trying to lead you astray. There are going to be burdens. There is going to be conflict. There is going to be anxiety. But these things will not prevent you from reaching this goal. The only thing that will prevent you from reaching the goal is deciding not to engage in the course of action. And always in life, there are going to be trials. And that's what I see this telling you, is that it's not like once you hit this level of achievement, all of those things are just going to magically disappear from your life. Your life will always have challenges. There will always be things for which you are striving further. And because of that, there are these things that also could lead you astray or derail you. But you will be stronger than them, Leo. And you just have to believe that that's true. All right, so now I think that concludes the reading for Leo for today. If you want to join me over in the members side of the channel for the crystal scrying, this is the beautiful geode that I will be using for that crystal scrying. And now we are going to move on to the sign of Sagittarius. Sagittarius. So Sagittarius, while I'm getting the cards ready, if you would like to just allow any of the issues or things you'd like to focus on in the reading to gently float up to the forefront of your consciousness and wait there patiently to be addressed. Hi, countries of the world. Happy Tuesday. Thank you for stopping by. It's good to see you. Looks like we have a strong UK contingent in the chat today. I'm going to go ahead and shuffle these cards. And if you are feeling anxiety about any of the issues that you've come here to address today, oh yeah, finally Malik, the Sagittarius reading. You can just kind of gently breathe through that tension. When you inhale, draw in the divine white light of Source. Let it flow through your body from the crown of your head down through the soles of your feet and into the ground below. And then when you exhale, just sigh out, breathe out any of those particular things that are troubling you, any discomfort or anxiety, and it will be returned to Source, and it will be transmuted. Oh, we have some people from Scotland and some people from England here today. They were talking about it a little bit earlier in the chat. But I know that you're very interested in the countries of the world. And you like to know where people are from. Oh, lots of jacks. Interesting. All right. Sagittarius, I'm going to write down your timestamp and then we'll get into your reading. So we have strong clergy energy in the major arcana in your reading today. Sagittarius, and I'll go ahead and address that here on the front end of the reading that we have for the past, the High Priestess energy, and then for the current situation, we have the Hierophant energy. So that's a very interesting progression to see. The High Priestess would be more communing one-on-one with the higher power. And then the Hierophant is the evolution in which then the Hierophant acts as an intermediary between the higher power and the general public. So we do have the High Priestess here in the past. This could have been a time when you were learning very many things, gathering secrets. The High Priestess also is a card of oracular communion, so it could be divination, could represent trying to find out secrets or talking to a higher power. They could be your secrets. High Priestess could also represent secrets held by others that you were trying to find out. So the clarifiers for that, we have the Two of Pentacles. The Two of Pentacles can be about balance. It can be about balancing one's checkbook, one's life, work-life balance. The Two of Pentacles can also be about your business partners. Could be forming a business partnership. We have these two witches here stirring this cauldron and debating as to what kind of spell they are going to execute, what they're going to put in there. And that could have been you and another person at some point in the past putting together this project. Could have been a project. It could have been starting a business as well. And we have the Jack of Clubs. So this is Page of Wands or Knight of Wands. Both having to do a lot with enthusiasm and energy being put into situations. The Jack of Wands is somebody who would make an ideal employee because while they might not have a ton of experience, they're very enthusiastic and eager to learn. We also have the Jack of Hearts. So this could be an offer of some kind. The Knight of Cups also is somebody who trusts their heart and their gut to help them with discernment rather than using logic. It's more about how situations make them feel and trusting that and then parsing that out rather than starting with the logic and working backward. Here in the current situation, well, now wait a minute. Let's go back to this High Priestess because the High Priestess also is a 2. So we have this Two of Pentacles here about balance. The High Priestess is the balance between the pillars of mercy and severity. And we did have these two aspects. The enthusiasm and the discernment and possible offers coming in. Or offering of the self too. How much enthusiasm you have for something versus how much you're offering of yourself could also be an aspect of that. Okay, so now we can move on to the Hierophant. This is the fixed energy of the earth sign Taurus. And the Hierophant, as I mentioned, does act as an intermediary between the higher power and the general public. And it can also be representative of the status quo, representative of the institution of marriage and of institutions in general, in a way that the Emperor card is more like authority figures. But then the Hierophant more represents institutions, such that, if you have one ruler, that person is acting unilaterally. But if you are talking about an organization, that is done more by committee. And so a lot of different opinions and people's mindsets are going into that to inform what then will be put forward as the predominant way of doing things. Tradition. And here we have the Ace of Cups. This is renewal of the spiritual self. The Ace of Cups could be meeting a new person with whom you click. So it can be romance, but it can also be friendship. And it can be just somebody who's going to be very important in your life. But the Ace of Cups can also be some kind of epiphany that you have about your sense of self as well. Like maybe a change of habits, or not as much of a change of habits the way you would see with the Ace of Swords, that you're, cutting out bad habits and things like that. It would be more like a change of mindset, such that it then changes your way of being as a reflection of that new ideology. We do have the Five of Cups here. And the Five of Cups is about disappointment. So I know that sometimes when people get candy corn while they're trick-or-treating, that can trigger feelings of disappointment in some people. I kind of like candy corn, but I also don't eat a bunch of candy anyway, so, I'm less likely to eat candy corn for that reason. So there might have been some kind of disappointment even that triggered this kind of awakening. And it could have had to do with prevailing modes. Morality in societies is something that goes through different fads and trends, like fashion and like a lot of other things, such that things that were more prevalent ideology-wise 5, 10, however many years ago, now those things might have turned a bit, and they might have shifted in the public's consciousness. And there might have been things about that, especially relating to a striving for conformity, that might be disappointing. And it might have led to different realizations then about the self. We do have, as the third clarifier for the present situation, the King of Wands. So this is someone who's highly creative, very passionate. This is air of fire energy. So definitely very Sagittarian. It's a lot of active energy. We're looking at somebody who can lead others through charisma and through persuasive techniques. So very similar to what we saw in the Leo reading with the Strength card as well. But especially in creative people, it's very easy to run up against this kind of prevailing attitudes of the status quo as a stumbling block rather than as a boon. Let's look at the future, though, because remember I said that prevailing attitudes in cultures regarding morality and different things like that often shift and change, and we do have the Wheel of Fortune here, so things could be shifting in your favor in the future. We have that unicursal hexagram showing up here inside of that Wheel of Fortune. So that card is a 10. It's aligned with Jupiter. So through Jupiter would also be aligned with your sign of Sagittarius, right? Jupiter in archaic astrology ruled Sagittarius and also the sign of Pisces. And we are in Pisces season right now. And say archaic because now, of course, that we have discovered some of the outer planets. Now Neptune is considered the ruler of Pisces. So the clarifiers that we have for your future, Sagittarius, we do have the Four of Wands also, so that's reason for celebration. I also see some people read the Four of Wands as a card about buying a house. So we do have this brick wall here on which the cat is standing. You could see that as representing buying a house or being in front of a large structure. We have the Joker card. So we have another Joker coming out for your reading, Sagittarius. And the Jokers, I read a bit like the Fool, going into these situations without a lot of preconceived notions and understanding that you're not going to be able to see everything until you get there. The Jokers in this deck too, we see like this fire imagery. It's a bit devious, a bit like the devil, right? Now, we do have one card here that is a 5. So a little bit like the 5 of Cups, these are our two passive 5s. And the passive 5s, this would be the 5 of Pentacles, the earth energy. This would be 5 of Cups, water energy. These are very much rooted in a feeling of lack, of scarcity. Now, but if you take the two of these, the disappointment of the 5 of Cups and the scarcity represented in the 5 of Pentacles, you do get this change of fortune, the 10. So for me, why this 5 of Pentacles would be coming out here is that writing your own script, so to speak, telling others what it is that you're going to do and having it be so very different often means that the money's not flowing quite as freely, but not to get focused on that. With the 4 of Wands here, I think that you will probably have enough. Not necessarily, although not to say that you couldn't become massively financially successful through this. But this is telling you not to worry about that. Do not be focused on that. Be focused on what it is that you are trying to accomplish. And the means to do that will come. Almost turn a blind eye to that. Be ignorant of that scarcity mentality. Oh, good, Malik. I'm glad that it's resonating with you. And
having this partner is going to help with that a lot. I do think that there's somebody from the past with whom you have formed a close alliance, and that having those close alliances is really going to be the key to bringing all of this together.
So that is going to conclude the Sagittarius reading for today. And now I'm going to take a short break in between, but I'm about to go over and do the crystal scrying for the fire signs over on the members side of the channel, and I will be using this beautiful geode for that. So, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much for everyone who joined me for the live video today. Thank you to all of you who watch my videos after the live broadcast. It is greatly,